Netflix just dropped the latest adaptation of Resident Evil, but looks like they've missed the mark big time. Fans have gone as far as calling it so brainless that even zombies wouldn't want it. Resident Evil is considered a prestige name in the world of horror video games. The disappointment is kinda understandable. In today's video, we've rounded up everything that fans hated about the show. FYI, this video will contain spoilers. Let's start off with the tone of the show. It was all over the place. I think we can all agree that one of the most shocking and annoying parts about Netflix's Resident Evil is the fact that the show's also a teen drama. We mean, the horrors of the T-virus were enough. We didn't really need the horrors of teenage life in there as well. But apparently, showrunners thought it was a good idea to put a Riverdale spin on Resident Evil. Guess they didn't realize fans wouldn't be too thrilled about that. Sure, Riverdale's done some pretty questionable things over the seasons, more questionable than the eye bulging out of a woman's back and genetically engineered clones, but you gotta admit, the teen drama was pretty heavy in the pre-apocalyptic timeline. Now, we're not saying anything's wrong with telling a story over the course of two separate timelines. It can be super effective if it's done properly. We mean, look at Stranger Things 4. It kept up the pace of the show in the past and present as it jumped back and forth in time. We can't say the same about Resident Evil. At one point in time, we've got Billy crying over a high school bully, and then in the next shot, we've treated with Jade through zombie-infested wasteland. Honestly, the whole teenage timeline falls limp next to the post-apocalyptic world. Not to say that it didn't have its moments. The whole Umbrella Corporation conspiracy does offer fans some nods to the original Raccoon City, but it's not enough to save it from falling flat. And it's most definitely not helping with the clashing tones of the show. We hate a bully as much as the next person, but to be fair, it doesn't seem that much of a threat next to, say, mutant dogs and human-eating virus. Don't you think? Next up, Resident Evil's got the worst sister relationship we've ever seen on screen. If you're new to zombie franchises, then you probably think it's all about zombies, but fans who've been following it through countless bad remakes know that at the end of the day, it's all about family. We know, it sounds a lot like the beloved petrol soak saga, The Fast and the Furious, but it's true. Between the occasional mutilated corpses wandering around, some of the most beloved moments have all been about sibling love. Remember the OG Chris and Claire Redfield? So naturally, we thought Netflix series would have been some kind of familial bond running through it. We mean, it does make sense from a narrative point of view. Unfortunately, we didn't get much of that with the Wesker sisters. Some of the fans even felt that the sisters got together about as good as zombies at a vegan buffet. Of course, no offense to Sienna and Tamara, who played Billy and Jade. We've got to give it to them for acting chops, but their characters don't do enough to make their chemistry leap off the screen. Both the girls seem to have questionable motives to begin with, and what makes matters worse are the super bizarre decisions they both make that end up tearing them apart. We mean, Billy legit shoots her own sister? So much for together forever, huh? The whole thing makes you wonder if they ever really loved each other. Look at the dynamics. Jade's obviously the stronger one between the two, but we rarely see her fight for Billy. Sure, she tries to save her from the umbrella at the end of the season, but she would have stepped in on the bully situation. Instead, she just threw shade at the school bully who, quite frankly, was begging for a good beatdown, and we never really understood her either. One minute she's all mature, and the next thing you know, she starts acting like an angsty teenager. Speaking of which, the bitter Billy brings so much angst to the show that it gets really hard to like her. Moving on to the characters on the show. For some reason, no one acted like a normal human being. If we had $1 for every time someone, mainly the Wesker sisters, did something stupid, we could own Umbrella Corp. There are moments in the Resident Evil series in which the characters show a level of stupidity that's, as fans put it, borderline offensive. I can't say we disagree. Remember when the sisters think it was a good idea to break into their dad's office? Yeah, so Billy decides it's perfectly acceptable to open a shady looking sealed container with something that's clearly not in the best mood. So this stupidity of hers is used to set up the whole her getting bitten story, and that just opens up Pandora's box of stupid decisions by pretty much every character on the show. We mean, Albert, who knew what the bite meant, barely even monitors his daughter after she's bitten by an undead Doberman. And don't get us started with everyone else at the school. How come nobody noticed that she's turned paler than out-of-date milk? And we get she doesn't have very many friends, but we mean, the teachers should have noticed. The show definitely loses points for making its characters very stupid. Then there's the whole Lance Reddick situation. Wasting him is criminal. So far, we've only talked about what the Resident Evil series didn't get right, but we'll tell you what it did do right, roping in Lance Reddick. Now, he was a treat to watch, so when they sacrificed Albert in the season finale, fans were confused as to why they would waste talent like him. But then again, it's not like they were using him to his full potential before that. We know that the iconic villain of the franchise was all about infecting the world and looking cool while doing it, but Netflix sort of reimagined him as a problematic scientist, playing God when he's not being a terrible father to his girls, which was a good twist, but it didn't really ask much of Reddick. Fans felt that almost anyone could have pulled that off. In a show about zombies, giant gators, and liquors, we feel the biggest horror is wasting away someone as talented as Reddick. After seeing him in the John Wick franchise, we know he's better than that. Speaking of better, the series would have done definitely definitely better visually. The Netflix series seems to have a lot of issues, and guess what? They're only amplified by how visually cheap it looks. Don't get us wrong, the zombie prosthetics, the gore, and most of the visual effects were well done, but it's Resident Evil we're talking about. That's like the basic things it should be getting right. Take a look at To Raccoon City and its high school. You've got to admit that it looks like showrunners rocked up to some holiday resort and decided to throw in a handful of Umbrella posters here and there. Is that really all it takes from a connection to the iconic franchise? To top it off, it doesn't look like the show has much original style either, even during the post-apocalyptic timeline. Case in point, when older Jade's trying to get home, she goes through something called the Brighton Stronghold before she eventually gets to France, taking an underground trafficking route. Now, knowing Netflix, they could have easily gone to the park with visual effects there, but the bases look extremely similar to what we've seen before in movies like Mad Max, The Matrix, and basically any of the Terminator movies. Fans were especially disappointed with the trafficking route part because it should have been one of the most horrifying scenes. Think about it, a bunch of innocent people trying to make their way through a channel tunnel, which just so happens to be infested with lickers, spiders, and zombies. It should have made our skin crawl, but most of the threats ended up being covered in darkness. And worse, the show made some goons with guns scarier than all of the other things down there. The monsters were practically used as bullet sponges. The sequence had so much potential, exactly like the show. Oh well. Finally, can we talk about how there was nothing to be afraid of, like at all? If you've seen your fair share of Netflix originals, you know that the platform has a very adult approach to TV shows. So when we heard about the Resident Evil show, we thought it would have a lot of those intense, nail-biting horror vibes. But we gotta say, Stranger Things did a much better job at scaring us than all the scary things in Resident Evil combined. And for a franchise that's known for deserving violence, jump scares at every corner, and a lot of gore, this Netflix show sure fell short. And that about wraps up our video for today. What did you think about Netflix's Resident Evil? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.